Hello, this is Keenan Park, and this is YLOC 4th grade worksheet, lesson 24. So today's worksheet is going to be entirely word problems, and so we're going to use what we've learned to try to solve these problems. So for the first problem, the store is selling 6 packs of Gatorade, and we want to buy enough so that everyone on our team can have 1 Gatorade. The baseball team has 26 players, so how many should we buy, and how much Gatorade will we have left over? Well, because we need at least enough for everyone, we need more or equal to 26 Gatorade bottles. So we're going to have some number, and then 6 times the number, x, is going to be greater than or equal to 26. And then we'll find that the closest multiple of 6 that is greater than 26 is going to be 30. 6 times 5 is 30, which is greater than 26. If we try to go lower, 6 times 4 is only 24, so that would not be enough for everyone. So we should buy 5 packs, because that will give us the 30 we need. And then how much Gatorade will we have left over? Well, 30 minus 26 is 4, so we'll have 4 bottles left over, because 26 will be used by the team. And then so for the next question, Pomni has a sequence of numbers. The numbers go 1, 2, 4, 7, 11, 16, 22. Now, that is a pretty weird pattern, right? But if you notice it, we can try to use what we do to find patterns. So usually when we're looking for patterns, what we do is we can see how much they change by. So in this case, it goes from 1 to 2, and that is a difference of plus 1. And then we also go from 2 to 4, that's a difference of plus 2. And then from 4 to 7, that's a difference of plus 3. And then this pattern continues. It's plus 4, and then plus 5, and then plus 6. So the pattern is the number they're increasing by actually increases also. So because this is plus 5, and then this is plus 6, we will figure out the next two numbers after 22. We have two numbers. Is going to be plus 7 and then plus 8. So plus 7 will be 29, and then plus 8 will be 37. So these are our next two numbers. And then Santa usually reaches my house at 12:17 a.m. every year, but because of reindeer traffic, he was 2 hours and 15 minutes late this year. So what time did he reach my house this year? So he's late, which means that he comes after 12:17 a.m. And he comes 2 hours and 15 minutes after 12:17. So 12:17 a.m. is right around midnight, 17 minutes after midnight. And then if you go 2 hours past that, it will be 2:17 a.m. So that's after 2 hours. And then we need to add our 15 minutes. And then 17 minutes plus 15 minutes is 32 minutes. And then we keep the 2. So 2:32 a.m. is our answer. Okay. And then next, me and my 13 friends each have an iron axe. The 14 of us decide to each chop down 5 trees. So how many trees are chopped down in total? So there are 14 of us. Oh, that's a bit large. So there are 14 of us, and we each chop down 5 trees. So each should be a clue to us that we should use multiplication. So we're going to do 14 times 5. And 14 times 5 is equal to 70. And if you want to know a faster way to do that, 14 is the same as 7 times 2. And then this is all times 5. And then 2 times 5 is 10. And then it's easy to multiply by 10, which is why we did all that. So we just get 70. Okay, now the next question. When Jack and Jill stand on a scale together, it reads 214 pounds. When Jill steps off, it reads 125 pounds. How much does Jack weigh? Sorry. Oh, wait, no. How much does Jill weigh? Yeah, this is correct. So we know Jack plus Jill equals 214. And then when Jill steps off, it's just Jack remaining, right? So Jack equals 125. So that means we can find Jill by replacing Jack with 125. So 125 plus Jill is equal to 214. And then we subtract 125 to both sides. And then once we do that, we'll end up with 89 pounds for Jill. And so another way to think about it is, since Jack weighs 125 pounds, we can subtract 214 minus 125 to get only Jill. And then that will leave you with 89. And then a lollipop costs 45 cents. I have 2 quarters, 12 dimes, 4 nickels, and 11 pennies. So how many lollipops can I buy, and how much money will I have left? 2 quarters is 25 cents each, so that's 50 cents. 12 dimes is 120 cents because they're each 10. 4 nickels is 20 cents because they're each 5, and then plus 11 pennies. And this will give us a total of 201 cents if you do the math. And then, so we're going to find the largest number that's under 201 this time. That's a multiple of 45. So 45, we can have 45, and then 90, 135, and then 180, and then 225. But this is over, so we can't have 225. So we have to have 180 is the maximum amount we can spend. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 lollipops. And then we can simply subtract 201 minus 180 to get 21 cents remaining. And then we'll move down. Captain Haddock has 38 ships in his fleet, and Admiral Da Chuan has 11 less. So how many ships do they have in total? Well, first we'll find out how many Admiral Da Chuan has. So we're going to shorten his name to AD. And AD is equal to 38 minus 11, right? Because he has 11 less than 38. And that's 27. And then we'll just add. So 27 plus 38. Well, that's equal to, let's see, 57 and then 65. So they have 65 ships in total. A barbell weighs 45 pounds. And if I put 3 plates, each weighing 45 pounds on both sides of the barbell, how heavy will the barbell be now? So we have our barbell. That's a nice rectangle. And it's 45. And then on one side, we're adding 3 45-pound plates. So these are each 45 pounds. So that's 3 times 45. And the other side is the same thing, right? So that's another 3 times 45. And since they're all 45, you can actually use the property, it's like the distributive property, but like the other way around, kind of. We'll factor out the 45 is what we'll call it. And so we can say that there's 3 45s here, 1 45 here, and 3 45s here. So 3 plus 1 plus 3 is 7. So in total, there are 7 45s. And so now it's simple. You just have to multiply once. 7 times 45 is equal to 315. And then next, we move on to a gross. A gross is a dozen dozens of something. So you know how a dozen is 12 somethings? Like a dozen eggs is 12 eggs. Well, gross is a dozen dozens. So a gross eggs is a dozen eggs. And if Fred has a gross magical tricks and George has 15 dozen magical tricks, who has more tricks? Well, so George has 15 dozen and Fred has a gross. And a gross is a dozen, like we just said. And a dozen is 12 of somethings. So Fred has 12 dozen magical tricks. And obviously 15 is greater than 12. So George has more magical tricks. And then for our last question, for every circus, I need 3 clowns. For every magic show, I need 2 jugglers. And if I want the same number of clowns and jugglers, what is the least number of circuses and magic shows I need? So here, oh, that's not a very good circus. We can pretend that's a circus. So every circus has 3 clowns. And every magic show has 2 jugglers. So if we want to have the same number of clowns and jugglers, well, every clown has to have exactly 1 juggler. So we need the number of clowns to equal the number of jugglers. So 3 times the number of circuses, it has to equal 2 times the number of magic shows. And then you can just try numbers out if you want, and eventually you'll find 3 times 2 is equal to 2 times 3. But the other way to do this is using what we've learned. We can find the greatest common, or the least common multiple, the LCM. And the LCM of 3 and 2 is equal to 6, which is the same thing as this. This is also equal to 6. And so 6 clowns and 6 jugglers is what we need. And for 6 clowns, that's 2 circuses. And then that's 3 magic shows. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching.